Hi guys. So I'm doing take 3. I'm doing a movie review. Basically I watched this movie today and I want to talk about it because yeah, as you guys can tell, I like to do that. So, this movie that I'm going to talk about se llama Vivarium. I don't know if you guys have heard of it or have seen it. It is on Amazon Prime, so you can go watch it there. And also, like, in case you had wanted to watch it, I'm gonna do spoilers here, so FYI. Anyways, so this movie was quite interesting. Now that this is take 3, it's a little less interesting. Just kidding. But like, there was an immediate shock after I watched it. Because of all the sort of a, ¿cómo se dice? Existentialism. The futuristic type thing. So anyways, let's do a movie synopsis. So this movie has 2 main characters, Gemma and Tom, and they're boyfriend and girlfriend, and they go looking for a house, for a home. So they go to like a real estate agent who takes them to an open house. At the open house, they think it's like pretty iffy, but they still look around and everything. Unfortunately, at the end of the open house, they get stuck there. So they try to leave. They have their car, but they try to leave and they can never escape. It's like going in circles. And funny enough, I kept thinking, like, did they not have phones? Like, when was this movie based? Because they didn't have phones in the whole movie. But it also, that kind of goes back to the idea of this being a waking nightmare. Because I know some people like have spoken how they can't use their phone or can't use technology in their dreams. So yeah. So anyways, this couple, they get stuck in this suburbia, in this open house in the middle of a suburbia, and they can't exit. And so they kind of make do with what they have, and they go to sleep and everything. And then a couple days later, they get delivered a baby boy inside of a box. And they don't, it's interesting how they're not really like, what the fuck. Like, at that point, after being stuck in that empty ass suburbia, they had kind of accepted the weirdness of it, because they didn't bat an eye. They were like, oh, we got a fucking baby. So then they start like taking care of, the mom, Gemma, starts taking care of the baby. And meanwhile, though, the dad, or excuse me, the boyfriend, he's just trying to figure out how the hell to get out of this suburbia. So he starts digging because it's all he can do. And somehow in he rationalizes the idea that if he digs, he's gonna find something. And the girlfriend is like, what are you gonna find? Australia? What are you gonna find? You know, it doesn't really make sense, you know, for him to dig to get out of that suburbia that they're stuck on. But anyways, that's what he rationalizes. So Gemma, she nurtures the kid, and Tom, he does the digging every single day, day in, day out. And this goes on for about 200 days, which is what, less than a year, to be honest. And in this time, the kid, the baby boy, grew from a baby boy to a full-grown adult. And this baby boy was from the beginning extremely creepy. He didn't have his own personality or identity. He was like a robot, but he mimicked both of his parents. So his parents, the boyfriend and the girlfriend. So he literally, that's all he did. He mimicked, and he didn't know how to communicate. So whenever he wanted to eat, he would like outright just scream. He didn't know how to communicate. It was so creepy. But anyways, the kid grows up as this couple kind of starts falling apart and everything. And the boyfriend, you know, like I said, he's digging every day, day in, day out. And because of this, he ends up getting sick and he starts dying. By the end of the movie, he's basically dying. And this is like one thing that I wanted to discuss, which is like looking for external validation, if you will. Because as he starts dying, he starts speaking with his girlfriend Gemma, and they start talking about how they fell in love, about how they first met, and all these things. And as he is dying, Tom tells her, I felt home when I was with you. Now I say that because this makes me think of the idea that sometimes like you already have what you need, but then you like look externally, because they do reference this in the movie. Tom tells Gemma, kind of blames her, because he's like, well, if you would have picked out one of the other houses we already looked at, we wouldn't be in this mess. So it just makes me think of the idea of seeking that outside external validation or what have you, because that's what they were doing. They were looking for a home outside when just being together was home to them. Something I wanted to touch on. So then Tom dies, and it's really sad because that whole thing that he had been digging in their front yard, the son, who is now an adult, comes in, puts him in a bag, and throws him in the grave, basically. And honestly, this was really good acting. Like I can say that. But anyways, it was really good acting. Gemma, I'm not sure the actress's name. But she, oh, you could feel the sadness, the devastation, the emptiness, because he died, and now she was alone in this suburbia, empty, perfect little world, but completely empty, completely devoid of anything real, because even the food was fake. The son wasn't really a son, he was just an it that was brought to them. And so in her desperation, she tries to kill the son, who again is now an adult. She tries to kill him, and this is when we see the son, or it, whatever it was, it starts like moving like a creature, like a non-human creature. And like, again, it's just like this eerie feeling to the movie. Not already that they were empty or whatever, they were alone, but like this kid, this robot, this thing that comes in like artificially formed, and he's non-human. So anyways, she tries to kill him, and he ends up going like under the sidewalk, which is like, what? So he goes under the sidewalk, and it reminded me of the movie As Above, So Below. Also Us, because he pulls the sidewalk up and he goes in there. Mind you, everything about the movie had been like realistic. Like, the girlfriend Gemma was a teacher, the guy Tom was a gardener, they actually worked at a school together, they went into a real estate place. Everything was like realistic, right? And so, mind you, when he pulls the sidewalk, like, I know everything was like kind of already dramatic and futuristic, but he pulls the sidewalk, and I was like, wait, are we watching the same movie? So he pulls the sidewalk up and he goes in, and so Gemma follows him into under the sidewalk, and this is where she gets to see the other family. So like I said, they lived in a suburbia, but all the other houses were empty. So as she goes in here, she can actually see, it's like if she was going into different houses. She could see the families in each of the houses and how devastated and twisted their lives also were. And but she comes out and she ends up at her own home again. And I think it reminds me of As Above, So Below, because at one point she tells him, what are you digging for? Are you gonna find hell? And he's like, no, we are already in hell. And that also makes me think of You, the show, because like that life in suburbia is commentary, right? Like, that life in suburbia could be hell for some, even though that's what they thought they wanted. But that life of being just a mom or just a dad in this like suburbia, nothing happening lifestyle is like hell for some people, like Joe. So anyways, he's like, no, we're already in hell. And as she's going under the sidewalk and seeing each one of this family, it's almost like those are also like, it gives you such an uneasy feeling, because it's like they're also living in like their own personal hells. So anyways, then she gets back to her own home, and she's like 95% dead. She's like barely alive. And so the guy, the son, basically puts her to sleep and also throws her into that same grave that Tom had been digging. So it's like it gave me like such an uneasy feeling, like. And looking back at it, I don't know specifically what genre it is under, but like after watching it, it just feels like horror, like a horror film. Like I just was not expecting all of that, and it probably it isn't that bad really, especially compared to other films. But I don't know, for me, like it just left such an uneasy feeling because it was kind of like the realism, and that's always what gets me about movies. It's not like the jump scares, but like the realism that was attached to the futurism, if you will. That's how I can phrase it. Like I said, they were both workers at a school, you know, regular every day. They had friends and whatnot. To all of a sudden, like having like this kid who was brought to them and was like a robot. Like he didn't have his own identity. And like thinking of that, that's what fucking like is one scary, but also the fact that like they were stuck there, and you know, like there was nothing they could do. But that uneasiness made me also think about the fact that like our minds, like there is so much information, there is so much history, there is so much that like it's like wow, like theories, there's so much possibilities that it's like how much could our minds actually grasp, how much can our minds wrap themselves around until it's like it's just like enough, you know. And this, I truly am saying this because I watched another video. This was like something I watched on Instagram where somebody was talking about like, you know, things that he didn't know that he found out, and how his brain like couldn't handle it. It's like you can't unsee it. And this just made me, the movie made me think of that because like of the whole concept. Again, it's making me like, oh, like want to throw up. And I also think, as a side note, there is some commentary to like the nuclear family and the traditional roles of the family, man, wife, taking care of the baby and putting him out into the world. That was quite interesting, and that's one way of looking at the movie. But for me, it was just like this other like eerie, darker part of it. And yeah, I guess that's pretty much what I wanted to say in the movie. Yeah, it was interesting. And if you have watched it, like definitely let me know, like tell me your thoughts so I know what you think, if it's completely opposite from what I said. And also if you have any movie recommendations that I should watch and like talk about, because I be doing that, then let me know. Yeah, that's it. Bye.